Okay, that works.
Ta-da!
Hi, Austin.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I am doing better. Just still getting over the last of some COVID stuff, so my voice is a little gritty.
Yeah.
And he gave it to me.
Oh, no.
Rip.
Yep.
Okay.
So you're getting the hardcore gritty rat and hardcore gritty mink today.
Getting the edge.
Yes.
Okay, we'll wait until everyone comes.
Brian's in the room. I don't
Ooh.
was.
I'm taking a look.
Should he have the permission to join the stage?
Yeah, Brian tells him to be.
I
Should
think.
be able to. Oh yeah, I see him.
Hello, Michael.
Hello, how's it going, everybody?
Hello.
All right.
Hello.
Going well. So we are just waiting for Brian. I hope he doesn't have trouble.
Hopefully he'll let us know. Yeah.
Speaker. Yes, he has the correct role.
Someone just left.
Permission to join?
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Uh-huh.
I can invite him, but yeah.
I gave you the speaker permission, so that's weird.
Huh.
I don't see why it wouldn't work. You don't have the join the stage?
Yeah, there should be a
no.
button that says speak on the stage, I believe, next to the Discord.
Damn. I'm going to check the permissions.
Clearly, he needs to go and hack the server to give himself permission.
Speaker role.
Or he could try punching it.
You just beat it up.
That works half the time.
No, that's true.
I give you more permissions, but I don't understand what's going on.
All the permissions.
Maybe here. Permission.
Do you see he has have to speak?
I don't see anything
wait.
special.
He's in.
There we go.
There we go.
Yay!
Okay.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Hello,
All
there
right.
we go.
Aren't we missing some people?
I think Glass has left.
Yeah. He wanted to draw some stuff
Okay.
on the stream.
Like there's too many gators here.
But we'll see. So I'm starting to presenting everyone. So I'm the creator of the game. So we have Python Blue who has done the music composing.
Hello.
Bryan Olson has done the voice of Brok, of course.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Glasses Gator. Glasses Gator does art for the game, including animations and some concept art, concept characters. And we have Austin, who is the voice of Dr. Mink, and Bjorn. Don't forget Bjorn.
Ah, can't forget Bjorn.
We have Michael Kovach, who I don't know actually how it's supposed to be pronounced.
Everybody has trouble with the last name. It's Kovach, Michael Kovach.
Kovach.
Oh wow!
Okay.
So one of my friends got it right when they ran it by me.
Lots of people get it wrong.
And you're probably the biggest star among us because you've been in many indie animated features on YouTube.
I've been
and
in
more.
a bunch of stuff, but you might know me from this game as the voice of Graff.
Also,
RJ, and what are they? The guard? The
guard. It
like
doesn't have a name yet.
Gotcha.
Yet.
Yet.
And we have Joshua, who is the voice of the rats, except the chief. He does all the other rats.
Yep.
So Dart, Kins, and generic rat in quotation marks.
There's nothing generic about it.
So I'll try to make it 1 hour long, but we'll see accordingly. So I have a question first for everyone. Before I ask you to do voices for the game, did some of you know each other?
As far as people in here, I don't think I knew anyone here. There are a few people from the games cast that I was familiar with, though, like Javan. I was good friends with him.
All right. So I'm going to give the context of how the voice acting happened. So I'm French, and in order to do voices in English, I have no real other choice but to do it online. And what I did was a casting call in 2019, and I got a lot of submissions. And yes, I'm French, cool. And all the lines of the game have been recorded separately. So I thought it could be an issue, but in the end, the quality of the voice acting was pretty good, because everyone said it was great. So that was a good thing. But it's actually the first time we're all gathered like this.
Certainly the first time I've heard spoken to Bryan.
Yeah.
In
first
voice,
time
that
I've
is.
spoken to
Yeah.
anyone
In
here.
voice, yes. So that's it for the context. So we are going to start with question, I think. Let's see. I'll try to put the question in the topic. We'll see if it works. No, it's too long.
Rip.
Damn. I put them in the chat instead, maybe.
Good thing I can show the chat in
So-
the background.
How did you guys originally view the characters you were given to voice act, and how did you get in character?
Ooh. That's a good question.
So I can
Taking this
answer
tournament.
on my side. When I did the casting call, I gave a PDF with all the roles from the game. It was still with a placeholder art, so it wasn't very pretty, but that wasn't the point. With a short character description, and so everyone gave me some submission, and most voice actors submitted for several characters. So we have fun stuff like Bryan, who does Dr Mink and Graff, and it's actually pretty funny in retrospect. So that's how it was done. I don't know if you want to add something.
Josh is the certified Ratman here.
Well, kind of like what you were saying about the PDF that you put together, having those images to, even if it was concept art, to see the characters helped immensely with the audition process, because a lot of times in auditions you'll just have, you know, a brief description of the character, but being able to get a vision of, oh, this is what they actually look like, really helped inform, at least for me, what I was going to try for with the voices. So,
Yeah, I tried to give as much as possible to the voice actors. I actually, at that point, I had already spent years on the game, and I had basically the full game already developed, but in a very early state with placeholders. So that helped. And one thing people don't know either is that I had I gave a build of the game to the voice actors so they can play all their lines directly with the characters' expressions on screen. So this helps with setting the right tone for the lines, I think.
When I recorded for the game, I don't think I ever actually looked at the script versions that you sent. I only ever did everything through the game because you had like
Yeah,
a little code we could use to just kind of see our characters' dialogue in succession, and I would
yeah,
just and it was also helpful because we could see the dialogue before it also, so we had context, which is very useful.
yeah. I'm sure it's pretty unusual to have this.
Very much so. I've never seen it before. I've never heard of it before. And
Yeah.
yeah, for me, it was incredible. Like, it was the coolest thing, and it made recording a lot easier because, like Michael said, the context. It was, man, I wish every game did this. It was great.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I was certain it would be very important. Yeah.
For whatever reason,
Um,
it seems to be a standard for the music end, but yeah, it's just, that's unfortunate to hear. It's not quite as often happening on the voice acting end, so yeah, that was definitely classy of you to do.
But to more directly answer the question, how did I view the character I was given, and how did I get in character? I mean, with Dr. Mink, it was a situation where I viewed him as a very neurotic, high-strung sort of guy, and so it's just like, okay, what's a voice that fits that? I'm talking like this and all that sort of stuff. And it's funny because listening back to the initial audition, it sounds actually fairly different from the final voice I used, which is usual in voice acting. You usually kind of find the character more so as you do the performance.
Right.
yeah. I remember one thing. I had to ask you to redo like 1/3 of the lines because you had an issue with your mic.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. So I spent like a good 2 hours recording them,
I felt bad about
2 hours
this.
recording them, and I had just gotten a new mic, and I. Hey Josh, I think I'm coming over on your end. If you could.
Yeah, I think I hear the mic bleed myself.
Sorry.
It's fine.
Yeah, no. So I recorded for about 2 hours and set up the new mic, and I set it up incorrectly, and so it was picking up a ton of echo, and that it ruined the entire audio file. So
Yeah,
I
that's
had to do it
the worst thing that can happen.
If it
Yeah.
makes you feel
Go ahead,
better, I was
Sam.
among those who was checking the voice files, and I failed to remember that detail about your tryout.
All right, so now one question for Brian. I posted it. Which part of voice acting the game did you feel was the funniest? Oh, and I'm going to get it. Any particular lines or scenario?
Well, right offhand, I can't think of any that
Yeah,
jump
yeah.
out at me.
There was a lot. Of course, it was 5 years ago, so of course that's not always going to be simple.
Yeah, but I do say the one line I've always remembered throughout everything has always been, my old sparring partner, when he goes to look at his boxing bag right at the beginning. Like, I don't know why, I've always remembered that line.
I think that was
Yeah,
one of the demo lines, so...
Probably yes, probably, or at least one of the first lines.
Hmm.
All right. So I'm going to post a. Oh no, I lost the chat. Okay, let's see. A question for Michael. Since Graff has some very emotional dialogue, how did you feel while recording it? And was it difficult for you to record his dialogue and get into his character?
Oh man. Yeah, so again, I'm going to bring up the fact that we had a playable build of the game with all the context for us to use. Was very, very, very helpful with getting into the very emotional stuff, especially some of the different routes and different options where, like, you can play as Brok and maybe not be as nice to Graff, and things get a
Yeah.
little more intense there. Those
Yeah.
were definitely a very intense to record, but I had a great time doing it. Like you don't get to especially in a lot of games like this, you don't have that much complexity where you get to have like the full range of emotions where like you can have happy moments, like super sad moments, and then just that extreme like fear or extreme like suspense that Graff has, especially just like I said when you choose to go certain routes with Brok, and it's just I honestly had a great time doing that.
Yeah, I'm sure you didn't expect it from
I did
first
not
view.
expect it.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people think, oh, it's colorful, it's a cartoon, so it's gonna be cheery
No, it gets
and
pretty real. It gets pretty serious and dark at certain points. It's scary actually.
Absolutely. It was hard for me to
but
continue myself at times.
but it depends on how the player plays the game, and so that allows to vary the playthrough. I think I wrote that this question could also apply to Brok, to Bryan. Did you have issues to voice Brok?
Well, for me, the hardest ones were the endings, the
Yeah.
real emotional ones.
Mhm.
Sometimes I had to actually go back and redo some of the takes because I was too emotional, and I would start actually to cry a little bit or a lot of bit, depending on the
Oh,
one. And
oh no.
so it was emotionally draining, but like Michael said, you don't get this opportunity to display this much emotion in a character that often. Like it was the full range, the full wheel of emotions with Brok, with all the characters. It was so cool.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I had never written much stories in my life, so I was pleased that people resonated with what I wrote.
Well, I think what helps is that there are so many different avenues you can go with the story. So just knowing you put that
Yeah.
much effort in all those routes.
Well, and also that it's very, despite having all the branching paths, it's a very concise story. You focus on the right characters when you have to, the secondary characters where they should be, so it doesn't feel like, running off in all directions, so you have more time to get invested with the character.
True.
Okay, question for you, Joshua. So could you say these lines in the voice of the generic rat? I think you can
Alright.
see them in the
Yeah, I
chat.
can see. I will try. He might be a little husky, but we'll try.
Beautiful. How you doing?
That's great. I think it cut the beginning. Just the beginning.
I think I heard it, but yeah, you can do it again.
Oh, okay, more.
Beautiful. How you doing?
I cut it off again.
Oh,
That's
that time
I
it
think
cut
that's
off. Yeah,
Discord.
at least for me. Shame.
Oh, okay.
No.
Maybe you can submit files after the thing. Maybe.
Might not be a bad idea.
Question for I was going to say Dr. Mink, but you know who you are. In the making of Mink's voice, what accent are you really using for the character? Since I mostly can hear he speaks British, but it could be a similar accent from that. Also, the way Mink speaks is somewhat menacing but cute, in my opinion. I'm just going to say something. I am very, very bad at determining accents because I'm French, so that's not a question for me.
Sure, yeah. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't like I'm setting out to make Dr. Mink British. It really was just well, I had the previous game I had done was also very heavily British accented, so maybe that had a slight influence on my subconscious. But it just seemed to fit, rather than just doing kind of a generic, I'm a crazy scientist person, giving a little bit of spin to it, with an accent. Just seemed to be appropriate for
Makes
the
them sound
character.
especially neurotic too.
Exactly. Yeah. There's sort of a twitchiness to it that just kind of fit. So it wasn't specific. I want him to sound British, but it was just kind of how it came out. And kind of what you're saying there at the end about the menacing but cute. Yeah, that kind of factored in as well. Because looking at the art, he looks very mischievous. He looks very
Mhm.
you know,
When I
some,
did,
you could
sorry.
believe that this guy is accused of murder, but
Yeah,
you know.
that's exactly my point. When I designed the character, I wanted one scientist we would immediately think he's the one who did it. So he had to be to sound like a villain in a way, but
I mean, let's face it, Ott had drew the same conclusion in canon.
many people still chose Dr. Mink as the culprit. I don't have the percent right here, but I think it was something like 20-30% maybe. Question for Python. Did you draw inspiration for Brok's soundtrack from films, games, or other music? And if so, from which ones?
This is a very passionate question for me, so I appreciate your asking that, Mika Cater. Assuming that's how you pronounce that name. When I first heard about Brok, I was very big. I got very hooked onto the throwback elements I saw in the game, so I just wanted the music to reflect that in many ways. So I took heavy inspiration from a lot of 90s and early 2000s media, but in terms of specific ones, my particular favorites for inspiration were Myst, but also some non-point and clicks like Tomb Raider and the early Ratchet and Clank games. In fact, I think the latter case shows heavily with the fight sequences.
I know you use an instrument that was in Tomb Raider.
The oboe, yes.
Yeah.
Same sample, too. I did throw a few subtle references to classic media like that with the instrumentation, yeah.
I didn't see you have trouble glasses. I guess you can draw after all. Too bad.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to speak several times, but I feel like I was just getting ignored. But I guess it's because my mic wasn't working.
I can see. I saw
can
your
hear you
activity
now.
moving every so often in the past, but I'm only now seeing you speaking myself. So.
I can now speak because I switched to my phone.
Okay, so you can draw. Too bad.
Okay. I can keep trying to put up my mic. I can keep trying.
Okay. So question for me, in general, what were some of your favorite moments with making the game? Are there any unexpected moments that just made you smile? So one of my favorite moments is the view at the end of the first day when Brok and Graff are looking away at the full view of the Atlasia. And that was quite an emotional scene. And I managed to draw the background, and it looked pretty enough. Even if all my background, I always think there's something wrong with it. But at least it was pretty good, I think. And it made me smile. Because when I heard the voices, everything come together. It's very emotional.
Yeah, that was a really fun scene. The line that comes to me always is Bryan saying, "Look to the sky."
Yeah, that's in the trailers. I was also.
Yep.
I remember when I saw that scene in its polished form, I was also impressed with the artistic quality in terms of making perspective come out of 2D layers.
Yeah, it's a bit 3D-ish because I changed the proportions of the sprites, so it gives some cool effects.
Yeah.
Question to everyone: what is your favorite ending? Who wants to pick first?
I guess I'll say something. My personal favorite ending was the drummer ending. It's actually a two-part reason. One, I think it's just very touching that Graff finally is able to pass and resume his life as a drummer. And second, it's that you need to think really hard in order to get there, and I love puzzles like that.
Yeah, you need to solve all the trials.
Exactly, yeah.
Mine will be the rupture ending. It is one of the endings that feels like very conclusive, and it is neither a happy or sad ending. It's more like in between, and a lot of things happen there, like implications and suggestions, etc.
I don't remember the names of which ending is which, but I really liked
Yeah.
the ending where Brok has to go like into the past way later in the
Yeah.
future to find Graff.
Mm.
I really liked that one. That one is really
Yeah.
emotional for me.
It's till the end of
I
time.
think that was till the end of time. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that ending
Yes.
too.
That was an emotional one for me too.
The
Yeah,
translators
yeah, like it.
told me some of them that it made them cry, even though it was only the text. So
Wow.
I think I would pick it also as maybe my favorite. Maybe.
I'd probably say the canon
Um,
one for me.
I'm sorry, which ending?
The canon one.
Ah,
ah,
I just
Yeah.
I remember I got it on my first playthrough,
Mm.
and I was just like, whoa. And then I saw a few of the
Yeah.
under. I'm like, yeah, those are good. I just whoa.
I mean, I remember having the same experience with that ending. I remember Fabrice telling me early on that he wanted people to try to get the canonical ending first, and I remember getting it
Yeah.
first.
Of
Yeah,
course,
actually,
the reason for that, the reason for this is because we are kind of like the halfway point of the story, because the story was bigger than what could fit into one game. So I had to kind of split it in half. So of course, it's not a super cheery, super happy ending. That's the reason.
Right. Well, I think another reason why I appreciated it is I don't. Time travel stories are very hit and miss for me. 9 times out of 10, I don't like how they're done. But this one felt earned, and I just remember it sticking with me going, you know what? I like that I have to wrestle with this ending. It's not just immediately conclusive, and I really want to see where it goes from here.
yeah, same here.
Not to mention the way. Sorry.
It's a really good ending.
Not to mention the way I view it is that it could be a way to canonically make it a way to revisit the gameplay. That's the way I viewed it as well.
Sure.
Personally, I haven't actually beaten the game yet. I haven't gotten an ending because I've been waiting for a physical copy to play on the Switch. Because for some reason,
Okay.
this
I
reminded
see.
me of just like being a kid again, and I just wanted to have that whole experience on a console with a physical cartridge
Yeah.
playing a point-and-click game.
That would be nice.
I'm
Yeah.
with how fast things are going on. I'm afraid it might be the last physical I might be able to do. It was
Alright.
really hard to get this one. I reached literally all the publishers out there to get one that accepted the game, and I was surprised. And they all told me it's a rough market right now. So enjoy it as long as it's possible.
Yeah.
I'm going to post a question for Bryan. So Kip made a little doodle and is asking if you could say liking the view, Kip. So there's a drawing and there you go.
Yeah. Like in the view, keep.
There you go. Perfect. Question
Thanks for
for
drawing that.
Mike.
That's awesome.
Question for Michael.
Yeah.
How do you change your voice as Graff, RJ, and the right guard at the same time in the game? Do you adjust your voice to better fit the characters?
Yeah, the voice definitely changes because the last thing you'd want is for them to sound the same. Because then imagine they end up in a scene together at some point. Then it's kind of a nightmare. No, what I did is I would record each character completely separately. Like I wouldn't go back and forth. Do a line as Graff, then suddenly as RJ, then back as Graff. Because that would be a disaster. It's easier to just kind of record. Specific scenes as Graff first. That way I'm sticking in his register, and then I would switch after I'm done with that particular scene or my set of lines. I would switch to RJ's,
and then I'd go from there, and it would just kind of, I wouldn't lose the voice at all because I would be stuck with it the entire time.
Because going back and forth from this
down to this
and then trying to do it again over and over
might not be the best idea.
I could do it just fine there, but in the long term, it's generally better to, do it separately to keep it consistent.
Yeah, makes sense.
Many people didn't even know it was the same voice actors for all these characters. they had no idea. I have a question. Have you done such a rough voice like RJ for other projects?
There's a game called Blush Blush, which is like a cookie clicker anime dating game, and there's a character that looks very much like Markiplier, and like they wanted a voice similar to Markiplier, so their voice they turn into a tiger and then they become themselves again, like as a human, but like when they're a tiger,
their voice is around here, so it's kind of gruff, but not quite as low.
And then when they're a human, it's just, everybody, my name is Markiplier.
Yeah.
It surprised me when I heard your neutral voice.
Well, thank you.
Oh.
I hear you often as cat characters for some reasons.
I like voicing them kitties. What can I say?
Yeah.
Cats are awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a cat man.
Question for Austin. Are you surprised how popular Mink is with the Brok community?
Yes and no. I think that kind of his character archetype being, kind of that blend of sassy, but also having some, the more emotional core to him. I could see why that really resonated with a lot of people. So as far as that goes, no, that wasn't surprising at all. I will say, for me, I tend to always fret about my work, whether it's voiceover or art or anything. So when the game came out, I was half convinced, oh my gosh, everybody's going to get to Dr. Mink. They're going to be like, oh, this voice actor sucks. Oh my gosh. So seeing the amount of the positive response really has been humbling because at least emotionally, I wasn't prepared for that.
You just have to give a voice of a mixture of British and Failman.
Yes.
Question for Python. How long did it take to create the soundtrack, and what were the biggest challenge to it? Which track did you feel was the most challenging to compose to get the mood right?
Well, I remember the first demo piece I'd written for the game which was reworked a bit into the piece Brok and Graff. I remember I had written that for you as a demo in late 2018. I'm pretty sure that was when. So
you did it for free, I think.
At the time, yes.
For testing, yes.
Yes, and so when I managed to impress you with that, I started working on and off on it up until the release date, I believe.
At first, I left open the possibility to hire several composers, but in the end, you did all of it.
Yes, I remember you threw out that possibility.
And we did it progressively throughout the project. So even near the end, before the release, there was still I still asked for a new track for chapter 4 because it was a bit too repetitive in the lab.
Yes.
I remember.
Yes. That being said, my biggest challenge, other than finding the time for it sometimes, and writing the lyrics with time from scratch, I remember a frequent concern you had raised while I was getting your feedback was, which I do share, it was trying to make my compositions elaborate enough without getting too repetitive.
Yeah, repetition. I'm a big fan of tracks which have rhythm and which are varied. So
Exactly,
that's my
yes.
focus.
Exactly, yeah, and that's certainly admirable. I'd like to think I'm getting better at it, but yeah, that was definitely a struggle we had. But I'm glad to hear it paid off in the end.
Question for me. What's your opinion on game jams? Have you joined one? So no, I have never done any game jams because I always felt it would take away time from my main project, and it's also because I have kind of put most of my ideas into this one game. So making this game, there was so much stuff to do, so many features, and it's like making 3 different games at once. So I didn't want to do game jams.
Seeing as some people are asking what game jams are, I'll answer for them. Speaking as someone who participated in making music for some of them, game jams are basically when you're trying to make a very simple game within a very short amount of time. That's the basic definition.
Yeah, thanks for asking, for answering this. Question for everyone: what is your favorite line that you voiced? I think some of you have already replied this, but maybe someone want to add something? No.
Favorite line.
I actually can't
had-
think of like a specific line.
Yeah, it's hard to
It's
think
tough.
of specific lines. Yes.
You can hear
Oh
me.
no, I know. My favorite line, at least as far as I can think, is when Dart is correcting the generic rat. He's like, "It's humiliated, you dumb."
Yeah.
I
That's a
just love
cute
how
line.
he's trying to like lord his intelligence over him, but he responds with an insult like, "You dumb."
This is unconventional. It's like not a favorite line, but like some of my favorite parts of the game to record were like
I'm
parts
not saying
where
anything.
Graff was snarky, where Graff got to be very snarky and kind of like a, very, very just spoiled brat. But also I really liked, despite how it made my voice feel doing this, the lines where he's looking for a pipe pill and he's like coughing up a storm. That actually I tried to force myself to cough a lot for those lines.
Oh yeah. Sorry
it
about that.
Oh no, it's fine. It hurt, but it was good because it needed to hurt. It needed to sound like they were struggling.
Yeah,
Makes
poor
sense,
Graff. I feel bad for my character sometimes. I need.
Oh yeah, I can do that.
So, what were the most difficult voice lines for you to record? Does someone have an idea?
I just said
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
The effort,
Yeah.
the death noises, the screams, and the emotional ones. For me, the emotional
Yeah.
ones just destroy my voice. Like even the sad ones, there's something that it does to it. I have to take quite a break afterwards.
Yeah.
I know that
Especially
feeling.
for the fall ending. I'm sure it was well, it was difficult.
Yeah.
Most difficult line for me was the one where Mink is talking about adding chlorophobia tribindexine Z
Oh, yes.
cucumber 13.
I have the all your lines where when we were trying to do it, and it took a while.
Right. It took me about 5 minutes of like slowly pronouncing each syllable.
You could have asked for me to change it,
No, because the thing is, once I got it done, it was like, I've reached the summit. I've conquered this line. So It was tough, but it was worth it.
Yeah, if
I
it makes
just
you feel
write-
better, I still can't remember the full words myself, even despite I talked about with you the other day.
Right.
I have so much power. I write nonsense, and you will do it anyway.
That's what we do.
Yep.
It's the fun of voice acting.
So, Michael, based on your perspective, what RJ really looks like to you? This could be anything from personality to his interest, and maybe other stuff that comes through your mind.
Oh man, what RJ really looks like to me. That's interesting. I actually don't even know how to really approach that one because yeah, RJ very much comes across, especially in like major parts of the game, as like almost a follower, where like they're just kind of doing what they're told a lot of trying to find their way, trying to figure out like exactly where they belong, and they just don't know. They're just kind of going about life. So it's like RJ, from what I can tell, is still actively trying to find themselves and really figure out exactly where they belong as a person.
No, that's
Yeah.
my perspective.
Yeah, I gave a lot of trouble to all the characters.
Yep.
Different ones, but all.
Yeah.
Wait, you're not an
Joshua.
elephant.
I just saw someone say an elephant in the chat and reminded me of that.
Yeah. No worries.
Joshua, given you voiced multiple characters who talk to each other on multiple occasions, particularly Dart and Kins, did it feel weird, essentially talking to yourself? So I think Michael already answered this, but maybe you.
Kind of along the same lines. I'd agree with him in that, again, I do all the lines for one character, switch over to another character. It wasn't my first time playing multiple characters in something, so I've had some experience doing that before this.
Okay.
And that makes it a bit easier to, especially when you have characters like Kins and Dart who have very distinct cartoony voices. It's a lot easier to switch between the two because one's more high pitched, one's more low pitched and husky.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I never felt like I was talking to myself, no, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Originally, there were only these two rats, and then I asked Joshua, "Can you do another rat voice?" Because I did a generic rat afterwards, and actually you did two kinds of voices for them, and the two are in the game at separate points.
Yes, yeah, that's true. So the generic rat that's in the game the most is kind of a takeoff of Kins's voice. It's just a bit more hyper. And then the last one I did was more kind of like this.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to keep the sort of New Yorker Bob style accents going, and I'm like, the first one that came to mind was more like a raspy sort of, hey, what are you talking about? So
Yeah.
I think that one's at the very end in one of the endings.
Yeah. Question to Austin. If you were Dr. Mink, aren't you? What will you do with the nanites he made?
Well, I take offense at the question. Of course I'm Dr. Mink. I have a plaque on the wall that says so. I'm certified. No. If I was Dr. Mink, what would I do with the nanites he made?
See, well, so, initially my head goes to what would I do with the nanites? But no, I have to put myself in his shoes. Oh gosh. I would see how they taste as seasoning on popcorn. I feel like they might taste like peppercorns.
Interesting.
Is it like the Switch cartridges, which taste ugly, very bad because they did it on purpose so kids don't swallow them?
Oh, okay. Well,
maybe I
don't
should
know.
Your inner fail man.
Yes.
Nice and crunchy.
Question for Python. How did you start making music? Did you take music courses? And do you use any recommended software tools for those who start out?
This is, I guess, sort of a two-part question. Weird as it sounds, I only have a little bit of formal music education. I did take a few piano lessons as a kid, and I also participated in choir in high school, but I think the most noble thing I did was ace a music theory course in high school. But most of everything else I know was self-taught, admittedly.
Mhm.
As for recommended tools, I mean, my main DAW, which is an acronym for Digital Audio Workstation, my main software is Logic Pro, which I wouldn't recommend unless you have lots of money to throw around because it's Mac exclusive. But I did try out Reaper a while back. That was pretty promising, and its licensing is relatively affordable. And if you absolutely have no budget at all, Audacity is very promising for basic audio functions, and the truth is, a lot of pros use it too.
Sure. I don't know if it was possible to make music with it.
You can, it's just more difficult because MIDI is more limited with it.
I am pretty self-taught myself. I used FL Studio to do the music in Demetrios, my previous game.
Yeah, I think I remember
So
you mentioning that to me.
if I can do it, everyone can.
Of course, yeah.
Question for me. In retrospect, would you have wanted to do anything different in Brok, or are you generally satisfied with the way things have turned out? So, yeah, I'm pretty satisfied because I was stubborn. I didn't want to drop any game feature. Nobody does this. I can tell you, all game devs, in order to finish their game, they have to remove content. But except for one room in the game, there's one room that was removed. At one point in the bunker, Graff had to avoid lasers in a room, and this one didn't make it.
Oh yes, I remember that when testing.
Yeah, I didn't want to do it at the end.
Yeah, I recall
But
now. Yeah.
that's pretty much the only thing. I'm self-taught, as I said, for everything except coding. I learned coding at school, but for the background, the character art I did, and everything else surrounding game dev, which is marketing, accounting, everything, I am totally self-taught. So for the background, and especially the mouth of the characters, the mouth animations, I think some could have been improved. I know I look at Graph's expressions, and sometimes I feel that could have been improved. Anyway,
Take a break.
next question for everyone. What's everyone's favorite location in Brok?
Good
Mine's
question.
the traveling between the areas screen.
The
'Cause
map.
it reminds me of being a kid again, like Putt Putt Saves the Zoo and other point-and-click adventures.
Ah, yes,
I
I
would
remember those.
poor but in this world it'd be screwed, I think. Wouldn't
I
last
think I
wouldn't
would
last long.
say,
What was that?
and you can go on. You can go.
Okay. Next question. For Brian, are there any Brok traits in your personality? That's a question for me. I remember you said you do some workout. Is that still the case?
For me?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. No, well, let's get a little personal, but that's part of the business, I guess, part of what we do. Well, sadness and depression in Brock is something that I'm fairly familiar with, so it was easy for me to lend into my own experience and make Brock seem more like a sad, down dad. So that part of my personality I was able to use quite a bit. And another part, when I saw that he was a do-it-yourselfer kind of thing, I liked that a lot. because that's what I do. I'm self-taught in pretty much most of the things that I do. And even working out too, I've been doing that for maybe 12 to 15 years or so.
Yeah. I guess all the voice actors which are here, you're all self-taught, I guess? Or did you take your lessons? I don't know.
I'm self-taught.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. We are all the same, but
I did study theater at college, so I have a degree in theater.
oh, so you're an intruder. Okay.
Yes, I'm sus. No, but in terms of the voice acting, it was always something I kind of did as a hobby, and there's similarities between theater training and voice acting, kind of some bedrock principles in terms of the voice acting itself. Yeah, self-taught.
All right. Question for Michael. What was it like to voice Graff, and did you enjoy doing it?
Of course, yeah. I had a great time voicing Graff. With Graff, the character, especially just the style of voice, is very much close to my natural voice, so it wasn't too much of a challenge, thankfully, to get into character. It was only a challenge when the character had like Bryan and I had talked about, just that extreme range of emotion. Which honestly, I embrace the challenge. That's always fun. But no, voicing Graff was really genuinely a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed, especially because kind of going back to the question about what our favorite location was. This is kind of maybe not the most popular thing. I really liked it when he was doing his test against, I can't remember his classmate's name.
Clay.
It was
Hot,
what's that?
hot or Clay?
Clay with Clay.
Clay?
Like,
Yeah,
especially
that's what I
where where you know, they're going against each other, and you know, they have the lasers or whatever that, like or like the shock thing where it's like ooh,
Oh,
do
yeah.
this and then you shock the other. I really liked those scenes in particular in that location. That was to me a lot of fun to record,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
especially when you choose to kill them.
Yeah. Unfortunately, some people like to kill Clay. I don't know why. He's the poor
Yeah.
boy. He
Yeah,
done nothing
exactly.
wrong. It's like Tidy. He did nothing wrong. Question for Dr. Mink. How would you... What is this? Would you react if Mink got his own DLC?
I would be flabbergasted, but I mean, really, of course, Dr. Mink's going to get his own DLC. It'll be Dr. Mink's sig drink machine, and you'll put little nanites down of different colors and match them up. It'll be perfect. It's like no other game ever made. No. Yeah, that'd be really cool. Yeah. I have no idea what it would be, what a Mink DLC would be, but
Honestly, I think Dr. Mink would create the game himself for him.
yeah, that's true.
And
That's true.
let's just say that Austin also helps with some development. Maybe some people don't know, but he already contributed to at least one animation of the game so far. The one where Brok is idle, the other animation, he did it, and other stuff. So
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say he's a bit more involved than you think.
yeah, I've got my fingers in certain pots.
Things. Yeah.
That's too cool.
You're hiding
Definitely.
secrets.
He's a very talented, multi-talented person. Question for Python. How did you feel about composing a song? Oh yes, that's my question.
It certainly was a challenge. I mean, I do have a past with writing retrowave music, a lot of which is still on my personal Bandcamp page, but I didn't often get the opportunity to write lyrics that I was actually satisfied with. I did try like 2 or 3 times beforehand, but I cringe at what I wrote then. So I remember when I had run it by you, we were both shocked how well the lyrics had turned out.
Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't have done better, that's for sure.
Yeah, I
And
really shocked myself there.
since we are on the topic of the song, I'm going to ask Bryan and Michael your feelings about this song.
Oh, I had a great time recording this song. Again, we didn't sing it together. I think I got to hear Brian's vocals because I think they were already recorded when I started.
Yes, I had
recording
sent his take alongside the instrumental for you.
Yeah, just really, really, really fun song. In retrospect, one thing I wish I did a little differently with the song is I sort of included Graff's little like kind of sassy tone to it, where it's like, will I forgive you? Where I made him a little more sassy. I didn't realize that it was kind of more somber, so I wish I'd done it a little more somber, but it still turned out good.
Yeah, I thought it was fine to me, especially given how much the song built up at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm right with Michael. I had a blast recording it too.
I remember. Didn't you once send me an alternate singing that we agreed not to use for the final result?
There was 2 takes. One, I was like, man, if we could get some like 80s metal style theme song going in here, this could be something too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I don't like hearing my singing voice, but it was a blast to have that opportunity, and it was.
You and me both about singing.
80s metal version.
I never heard the other versions personally, so nobody else did. I think
That's probably
maybe.
Oh, it's.
Oh.
Wouldn't, yeah.
It was fine to me.
All right. It's as you wish. I'm not going to anyway. Last question for Michael. Maybe for I have exhausted the question for each person. There are still questions for everyone. So Michael, can you say this line? Let's kick some tail in a badass way.
Sure. Let's kick some tail.
That's perfect.
Hi.
Perfect.
Thanks.
All right. Next question. To all the voice actors, was there any hardline? Oh, I think it's very similar to the question we had before. So I'm going to skip. So someone asked, what was your favorite fan art of the character you voiced? So I wouldn't blame you if you didn't watch or see the fan art that people submit, because sometimes they are with weird things. But maybe some of you can answer. I don't know.
Well, some of my favorite one is from Keeper Raft. It's always cool seeing the ones that they draw, and there's just so many cool Brok pictures that show up on my feed, and it's just neat to see everybody's interpretation of them. It is so cool.
Yeah, I'm going to say something. I didn't expect. I know I pushed people to submit fan art because it's in the game, but I didn't expect to still get fan arts to this day, and a lot of it. That's pretty incredible. I think that means people really love the characters.
Did I ever tell you, this isn't like fan art, but this is an experience I had at Gamescom. I was at Gamescom in Germany back in, I think, August of last year. And while I was there, I actually had someone come up to me with a physical copy of Brok, and they had me sign it.
Oh, it must have been the PC version then, because
Yeah.
the console version are still not.
I'd never had anybody come up to me like in person about Brok, and they were the first person to ever do that. I was just flat. I was like, wow, that's awesome. Oh my gosh.
So everyone, I have a reveal to make. I'm going to post something in the chat.
Okay.
And
Ooh.
What do you think it could be?
I see.
Ta-da!
Oh man.
Ooh, I'm
Oh.
sure.
Who's
I'm
that
sure
cute little
Kovach is
guy?
happy.
It's coming. It's coming on February 29th, and I hope people will get it. And I formally announce it later today or tomorrow, but you'll now have something that people maybe will want to sign, Michael.
Ah, fun.
Mhm.
No,
It
don't
is.
turn me into a
And
marketable plushie.
yeah,
If I
and
remember correctly, just like Brok's plush, it needs certain amounts of pre-orders.
yeah, 20. No, how do you
Is
say
it
it?
200?
2011, 100? No,
200.
200,
200.
200. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. And I have the prototype, the only unit that exists right now at home. So I took a picture,
Ooh.
and they're
Oh,
together.
the father and son.
Yeah.
That's cute.
I would also like to thank Austin, who helped designing both. He helped retouching the. Well, we had a lot of back and forth with makeshift to make them. So thank you, Austin.
Yeah, I just tweaked kind of the expression in the eyes and everything just so that it looked good. Because the initial thing that they sent that they did kind of looked off model, and I'm like,
Yeah, I
I think
remember
I can
the
make Graff look
inaccuracies.
better.
You described it better than I could.
You did a lot of tweaks.
Yes, very detail focused, and it's like
It has to be perfect.
So it's almost time, but maybe we can continue a little bit. I don't know if it's okay with everyone.
I've got
Well-
nothing else going on right now.
It is.
Well, I think
there is.
Go on ahead, Glasses.
I just gonna say that there is something I wanna request to Josh.
Okay.
Okay.
And Josh, do you remember that time where we showed you a fan art of mine of Dart as a wrestler?
Yes.
Oh.
Can you do like a wrestling style trash talk with Dart's voice?
Oh, okay. All right. Let me think. I don't watch much wrestling. Like most of the stuff I'm aware of is like the 80s stuff. Let me see. I tell you what, soon as I get in this ring, I'm gonna make this croc wish he was never born. I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna hit him hard. I'm gonna hit him so hard he's gonna see stars. He's gonna see stars and he's gonna go to space, because he's dumb.
That's super great.
Yeah.
Well, while everybody's still here, are there any upcoming projects that you're involved in that you want to give a shout out to, or that you're really excited about?
Who are you asking?
Just all the voice actors.
Oh, okay.
I figure artists and musicians, if you've got anything else, that would be cool too. Just anything everybody's working on.
Oh, appreciate
Well,
it.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there isn't a whole lot going on my end, but I do hope to work on a follow-up retrowave album to my personal projects. Beyond that, I think I indirectly found Cowcat in the first place through a community called the Ice House. I remember, and they're a big fan of point and clicks as well. Not the violent type, but I still feel they're worth looking at some of their work.
I wouldn't surprise anyone by saying I'm doing more Brok stuff.
Of course.
You know about the shortcoming comic book we released recently, and there will be more, but it's not yet time to announce. We'll talk about more in the future. There are at least 2 other projects which I hope will come out this year, but we'll see. So stay tuned for announcement, of course. Should I post 1 or 2 more questions, or do we stop here?
I mean, I'm fine to stay for a little bit.
Okay,
Either way.
I'll post 2 more and we'll stop.
All right, fair
Okay,
enough.
so I hope you guys will carry the game well in the future. Masterpieces like this, never even easy to find. Glad this game got made, everyone inspire. As a person who do game dev and arts, this game also inspires me very well. Question time, how did you guys manage this game so well that even now fans are still very active? Too incredible, I need to know. I'm doing my part, of course, to still port the game to every platform under the sun. As you know, the mobile version on Android and iOS will release in 2 days, next Wednesday. So that contributes to it. I don't know for what else to say.
Well, I'm looking forward for the mobile version. I'll say that.
Yeah, I did some efforts to make it playable with just a touch screen, which is a challenge.
I can
think it
vouch I
works.
was one of the testers.
So hopefully that will increase the community even more. We'll see.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I know it's kind of a bit of a crapshoot, but so much the mobile game market is so absolutely massive. So I think at the very least it'll make some sort of splash, but hopefully it'll be a big cannonball splash.
I can tell you something. I got a request from Apple to submit graphical assets because they want to feature it on the Apple Store. So I was super
Dang.
hyped when I saw this.
Oh, yeah, that's incredible.
So we'll see what comes from this, but I didn't expect it. Yeah, to me the mobile market is like impregnable. It's there's so much stuff going releasing on it, and you're literally drowned. And I really didn't expect anything. I still don't have much expectations, but we'll see what happens. Last question. What would voice actors do if they transformed into their respective characters for one day?
Holy crap, I'm in 3 different people right now.
Oh no.
I would definitely eat. I'd see what those ant burgers tasted like.
Yeah, and burgers, and pampalos, and pizza ant, everything.
I'd probably hide in the bathroom still.
So Nook Day is the artist of the comics, and he asked what is everybody's take on should we put a pampalos on a pizza? And I said maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know about all that.
It adds no. It's a perfect blend between the savory and the sweet. It's great.
I said it's like putting pineapple on a pizza, and everyone knows it's everyone loves this, right?
Yeah.
No,
I'd try it.
I don't like it personally, but
Utter blasphemy.
But
right.
to answer the question about turning into a respective character, I mean, I'd be stuck in a lab, so I'm not sure there's much I could do. Assuming that I transform into him with the knowledge I have, I'd probably find a way to dismantle Tidy, both out of self-preservation and out of spite. So yeah.
I would probably move back to New York and lead an army of rats to take over the city. Get in touch with my bad side.
Yeah.
I would be nicer to Brok.
Same.
Yeah. Okay, one last question. Do you have any tips so it's to the voice actors. To someone who may be interested in starting out voice acting, should they look for courses online or try mimicking different voices and accents and listen to yourself?
I've got a great website I'm going to link real quick. It's called the voiceactingclub.net. It's made by Kira Buckland, who is a voice actress for video games and anime and all that stuff. And they've got a lot of good guides. This is mostly for people looking to do online voice acting, like professional voice acting in studio. There are so many different resources. Like I want to be a voiceactor.com, Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt's book, voiceover voice actor. But I think that voiceactingclub.net just has a lot of great resources specifically for people that are looking to get started, maybe in the indie spaces online.
I wonder if that was the site that I posted the audition call on, maybe. The name is familiar.
I believe it was either there was Voice Acting Club, there was Behind the Voice Actors, there's Casting Call Club.
Maybe I just stumbled upon it. I want to say something too. You are very, you all voice actors, you are very friendly, and I didn't expect that all of you, including the ones who aren't here, you all accepted my first offer, and I really didn't expect it. So I'm sure it wasn't super high. And I want to thank you very much.
Well, it was a
my
blast to
pleasure.
record. It's I've said this before on my Twitter page and everything, but out of all the video games I've voiced in, this is easily my favorite, and not just in terms of like recording for, but also playing. And so it was like, oh heck yes, I love this. So
genuinely fun characters and a fantastic story that like just hits in every direction.
Honored to have made the music for this and also a small voice acting role myself. It was such a pleasure to be involved with this.
So you are all familiar with the AI problem, and I am very pissed when I see people say, I am a small indie developer, I'm a solo developer, I can't afford paying voice actors. And I'm like, I did it, and I have 23,000 lines in my game, and the voice actors, they all accepted to do it for me, and it wasn't absurdly a high amount to pay. So if I can do it, everyone can. So I'm very angry at this, at people who think AI will fix all problems, but we all know the result won't be good.
And even then, if you're making something that's smaller scale or anything that's not commercial and you're looking to get voice actors, there is a whole community of people that are willing to do work just voluntarily because it is nonprofit and it's for fun.
Yeah,
exactly.
You have to look in the right places and know who to look for. And a lot of those people are people that are doing it for fun or because they love working with passionate people, and a lot of them are very, very good in and of themselves, that provide fantastic work. So you don't need to rely on AI for stuff like that. And like someone in the chat just said, it helps to build a portfolio for some people that are really just starting out.
Yes.
So it's like going with AI just kind of diminishes that starting point for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's really a problem for everyone. Even making games, they say, "Oh, soon the AI it will make games, no problem." And it's a problem for everyone, honestly.
Absolutely.
I have a big admiration for voice actors. I always get more excited for voice actors than live action actors. I hope that I hope that I get to hear at least one of you in a Fire Emblem character.
Here's to hoping.
Mm.
All right. So there are still more questions, but I don't want to bother you too long. So maybe we'll do something like that another time in the future. Maybe with other voice actors. We'll see. I didn't want to ask all the voice actors because that would be very hard to organize, especially for a first time.
Absolutely.
So we'll see someday. We might do this again. So I want to thank everyone for coming and happy evening or afternoon or morning where you are. So I think it's afternoon for the US folks.
Correct.
Yep.
It's 9 p.m. for me.
Oh wow.
I am often the odd one when it comes to time zones, unfortunately, because mostly everyone is in the US or close.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for arranging this and everybody for coming in and submitting questions and engaging
sorry
in the chaos that is the chat.
And thank you
Sorry
so much for
for-
inviting all of us.
Yeah.
for the question that didn't get answered, but I hope most of the questions we had were answered, and we learned a lot today.
Yeah.
Yes,
Heck
thank
yeah.
you.
All right.
Right. Great
All
job,
right.
everyone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Adios.
Have a
Bye.
good day.
Bye.
See you later.
It was nice hanging out with you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dr. Mink didn't say his last word for sure.
I get to say the last word. Oh, hooray!
Oh, or maybe Brian can do some goodbye message with Brok's voice.
Well, have a good night, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We'll leave it on that.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.